Good morning. This is Evangelist Tara Buck from A New Life Generation 2 Ministries, and I'm here with a ministry moment. Um, Today, I'm gonna, I struggled with this title for a couple of days. The best thing that I can say right now is where them wolves at. You know how that song, where them fans at? I want to know where them wolves at. And it's very touching to me. It's a touchy subject, okay? Because I've been talking to people over the past, really through my whole lifetime about, they confide in me sometimes about relationships and things, friendships, and reconciliation, trying to get back with it. So, yesterday, I was speaking with a person who expressed that they were approached by a former friend who wanted to mend their failed relationship. The person told me that she didn't want to mend the relationship due to past hurts and experiences that left her in a place where that person could not be trusted. And because of the magnitude of the deceitful and damaging actions of the former friend, trust and rebuilding that relationship just wasn't possible. Um, the person that I'm speaking of said that she only deals or tolerates this person because of a business relationship, and it's through common friends and associates that they have, um, where there's a financial gain, and that circle of friends also approaches her constantly with conversations of reconciling with the former friend who reaches out to them and say, I miss this person. I want to, rekindle the relationship. I don't know what went wrong or whatever. And that's good. She misses the bond of the friendship and wants to rekindle the closeness in a relationship they once had. My person did express to me that she was already reluctant on continuing to work with that former friend. Just going to quit doing whatever they was doing, just go on about her business. But because of the relationship that she has with the other friends and for fear of her financial loss, she agreed to stay. She asked me for spiritual advice on how to deal with this dilemma. Okay. Well, first off, I really appreciate this person for confiding in me and trusting in me with the task. And I hope that what I'm about to say not only reaches her, but anybody else who's in this situation to assist with any issues spiritually related to theirs. And although I don't claim to be a saint or expert on spiritual advisement, I can say that I, as well as many others, have encountered this in life and experienced the same situations or scenarios this person has been experiencing. So during the conversation, the person who entrusted me said that the former best friend approached her in public, in a public setting, trying to rekindle the past relationship. But that's fine. But she also went on to say that the former friend brought somebody with her in order to validate some things that she thought was suspicious during the friendship. Now listen, I'm all for trying to salvage what's left of a situation, but pouring salt on old wounds, that's a definite deal breaker to me. I mean, is that person really trying to make up with you or not? Is that person trying to get close to you to hurt you again or not? It's hard to tell. If a person is genuinely attempting to make up with you, why bring up past experiences that were hurtful to that person? Especially when that person is fully aware of the actions they perform to make the friendship null and void in the first place. Let me tell you something. My grandmother always told me, if you got to bring somebody with you to validate something, then you're not telling the truth. You're not genuine. Sometimes we got to remember that at times a leopard doesn't change its spots. and a wolf will definitely appear in a sheep's clothing. So, here you go. In the Bible, the imagery of wolves, it symbolizes sometimes enemies who cause harm, a symbol of opposition. And the Bible uses the metaphor wolves to represent people who are destructive, dangerous, and predatory enemies who causes harm against God's people who are known as sheep. They are sometimes disguised as a person in your circle, same Christian circle or whatever, or a common circle, it doesn't matter, who supposedly means well, but for whatever reason destroys and sabotages people and incidents concerning anyone who deals with them. Now this may be this may be purposeful, let me say the word right, or inadvertently, but it's dangerous nonetheless. There are nights when the wolves are silent and only the moon howls. But love will find a way through paths where wolves may prey. But you got to remember, liberty for wolves is death to the lambs. I give a synopsis or description of a wolf because we as believers must be very careful and discerning when attempting to go into even entertaining the thought of reconciling with a person who continually harms your sanity, mutual relationships with other people, and spiritual growth in Christ, especially when you have moved on to another realm in your life. It's like going to the garbage. It's like throwing something in the garbage. I use an analogy from one of my home pastors when I was younger, and he preached a sermon about garbage, taking out the garbage. You know, you got all this garbage in your house, and you take it outside and you put it in a dumpster, and you go in the house, and after a while you say, oh my God, I really like this and that. I don't know why I threw that away. And then you go outside and pick it back up. You rumble in that garbage before the men come, pick it up, and you pull it out and you take it back in the house. Why would you do that? That's just like a failed relationship. If you're done with it, why go back and recycle something that actually has been garbage in your life? Why would you pick up garbage and bring it out? Because it's only going to rot, continue to smell, continue to fester, and spoil whatever spiritual gift, whatever God has for you. It's going to spoil, taint, and spoil whatever goes on with you in the future. But who knows? Who knows? You know, you have to ask yourself, this person genuine about what they're seeking from you? Or are they really oblivious to the fact that continue to wave a red cape? That's like waving a red cape in front of a bull that can lead to a charge that may not want. So when deciding to forgive or reconcile, we have to be careful and aware of who or what we are dealing with. Because, you know, we're not dealing with people. We're dealing with principalities and spirits. And we got to be aware of who we are and whose we are. But at any rate, if you decide to take this on, just allow me to give sound advice and understanding of how forgiveness and reconciliation goes in relation to the Word of God. Okay. Forgiveness is a personal act of releasing resentment, while reconciliation involves restoring a relationship. Rebuilding trust and restoring relationships takes time and effort, especially after the significant harm has been done. It's important to be patient and understanding if you decide to do this and allow space for healing and growth. It's not going to happen overnight if you decide to, you got to let some stuff settle. While the Bible emphasizes forgiveness, it don't require, disappoint. I'm saying something. It don't always require reconciliation, especially in situations where trust has been severely damaged. or where there are biblical grounds for separation. So let me highlight the core functions and principles of relationships. The words for me that best describes the core principles are love and compassion. In relation to this, I can go straight to 1 Peter 4 and 8, which states, above all, love each other deeply, because love covers a multitude of sin. Now that don't mean that however you hurt somebody in the past or caused a former close relationship to end makes it a sin. But generally speaking, in order to begin the process of forgiving whatever past hurt a person has inflicted on you, or whatever you may have inflicted onto another, you have to be willing, you and the other person have to be willing to forgive. And please understand, the act of forgiving a person is not for them, but for you. Okay? Additionally, the word clearly states that we should love one another as Christ loves us. And that's according to Ephesians 4 and 32, which states, be kind to one another, tenderhearted, and forgiving to one another. All you must do is show yourself as a loving person who has gotten over the past pain and guilt inflicted by another. And you know why? Because God gave his son Jesus. And Jesus forgave people when he hung on the cross to die for all our sins, according to John 13 and 34. A new command I give to you. Love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples only if you love one another. You ain't got to deal with them. You ain't got to like them. You ain't got to go to bed with them. You ain't got to go home with them. You ain't got to do nothing. Just do your job. It's business. Get your money and go home. I love you. That's all you got to do is love one another. It don't have to be as close as it used to, because it's not going to be. And the agapeism, from what I said, genuine, just love, is definitely warranted. Forgiveness is a process, and it's hard to do if you're still holding on to hurts from the past. It's a slow journey. But if you choose to do it, understand the steps that you must take to reach this point in a past relationship. First of all, you got to acknowledge and validate your emotions. That means you got to recognize and accept the anger, hurt, and other emotions you've experienced. Suppressing these feelings will only make it harder for you to move forward. You got to get it out. You gotta tell them what you feel. This is what happened. I don't like what you did, and to clear the air. This, that, and that, and give that other person a chance to air out their grievances as well. First step is admitting that, maybe I did wrong, but this is what you did to me too. Then you got to turn around and you have to focus on the present, not the past. Instead of dwelling on it, focus on the present moment and what you can control. This can help you release the grip of anger and resentment. Because you can't change the past. You can't change where you've been, but you can always change where you're going. Always write in pencil, because you can always take the eraser and clear it out before you make the next step. Then after you do that, y'all have y'all mutual talk, whatever. And if you agree to mend the relationship, guess what you got to do? You got to set a boundary. You already did when you broke the relationship. You're setting a boundary. You're not going to let nobody come in your space and continue to do the past things that they've done. And if it's necessary, set those boundaries so you can protect yourself from further harm or emotional distress. And most importantly, always remember, forgiveness is for you. Remember that forgiving someone is primarily about your own well-being and healing, not about changing nobody's behavior. If they want to change, they're going to change on their own. And if they see that you're standing on business, you have to give respect to earn respect. Because forgiveness, guess what? It's a choice. Forgiveness is a decision that you make, not something that you feel. You can choose to forgive even if you still feel angry. Now, this doesn't mean that you must resume the relationship the way it was in the past, if there will be a friendship at all. But I would encourage you to pray before tackling it. Remember that you can't approach this by yourself. You will need God's grace to step in. Pray and ask Him about it. Ask Him if it's worth fixing or not. Ask Him to give you the strength, the wisdom, the love, and patience to address the issue, because the truth is, once a major hurt happens in a relationship, it'll never be the way it was in the past anyway. But due to compassion, sometimes because of the residual situation that we may have a moral and spiritual obligation to still be loyal to, like that group of people with the money and all that kind of stuff, you still got to follow the teaching of Colossians 3:13, which means bear with each other and forgive whatever grievances you might have. This all for the greater good of the moment and the environment that you both still have a personal obligation to be associated with. Listen, I'm not going to sacrifice my financial gain or miss an open door blessing just because I can't stand or like nobody or be around nobody. Nah, I'm not going to do that. I can be in the same room with you. And, I can be cordial. How you doing? But we ain't got to do all that. This is business. It's quite all right to explain to the other person that you have gained a different mindset since the breaking of the former relationship. And even though you agree to still be a part of work with that person or around that individual, please understand that there is now boundary that you expect them not to cross with you, and you won't cross with them. Make those boundaries known and make them understand that respect and trust is earned and it's not given. Forgiveness is not an occasional act. It's a permanent attitude. That's a saying from Martin Luther King Jr. Mistakes are always forgivable, and if one has the courage to admit them, if you cannot forgive and forget, then pick one. I always get an analogy of a stained glass all the time in church class. If you can picture it in your head, the stained glass window of a church. You see them in the Catholic churches and sometimes in some Baptist churches. But if you look at them, they're so beautifully crafted with the multicolors and separating each tiny one, each little piece. It's a one-of-a-kind hued shape. There are black lines or veins that keep the pieces intact. Relationships are the same, whether it be boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, business partners, or just plain old long-time friends in general. Our feelings, emotions, mind, and spirits are like fragile glass, especially after something traumatic that has happened in a relationship. And once one of these entities become fractured in any type of relationship, it's like a strong boom hit to that glass pane. Boom! Every time the hurt attacks the structure of the glass, cracking it to its core, we begin to bleed inside. That's the colors. Our feelings, emotions, actions, self-esteem. They mend over time, but the cracks and fine lines are still held together by a lifeline, which is those black lines. And we call it God's grace. Grace that is given to us as well as grace we must extend to others. Our natural instinctive reaction to this type of trauma is to separate or dismiss ourselves from an environment and even the people who have inflicted the tremendous and traumatizing hurt and pain. We go off to the corner, we lick our wounds, we try to get back to where we're supposed to be, and find some type of strength and healing and normalcy just to move forward. But once the trust is broken and more trauma is inflicted onto our lives, every hit is like that crack to the systems. But know that because you follow God, you will never break because of him. That's called grace. That don't mean you have to be a footstool to anybody in a past relationship. Doesn't mean that you have an obligation to rekindle the friendship or any type of relationship. And it definitely does not mean that you have to have any type of relationship moving forward. Grace is just a validation that your faith and growth in him is more important than moving backwards into something that could potentially mean you no good at all. Especially after you move forward onto another and new, better situation than you was before the relationship was severed. I'm going to leave you with these two passages in the Bible. Romans 12:10. Love one another genuinely. Reject evil and cling to God. God urges us to forgive and reconcile, but he also urges us to acknowledge the need to distance yourself from a toxic or harmful relationship. It's okay to forgive, but don't forget or subject yourself back into the same relationship or environment that God moved you away from. Trust me, that person may go back into their old routine of messiness. And once they regain your trust and you begin to get comfortable and let your guard down, just remember what they did in the past. You don't know if that person changed or not. Second passage I'm leaving with you is Psalm 147:3. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. He also heals the brokenhearted. Not only will God give you comfort as you begin to forgive, heal, and move forward from the structure of a past closeness or relationship, he will actually help you do it. In other words, when God got over it, he continues to make sure you get over it too. I'm Evangelist Tyra Buck from A New Life 2 Generation Ministries, and that's my ministry moment. Where them wolves at? Until next time, peace and blessings.